For some, it's practically Christmas in April. Yeah, if you've been devouring mock drafts and poring over picks, well then, my friend, this is the show for you. This time on City Beat, we're breaking down next week's NFL draft. Is this the best quarterback draft ever? What will the Raiders do at pick 13? And will Santa bring the silver and black a franchise quarterback? All those questions and more will be answered. City Beat starts right now.
From Las Vegas, this is Sin City Beat.
Hello and welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us on Sin City Beat. I'm Mike Davis. On today's show, we got ourselves a big-time panel as we look ahead to the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, joining in on the fun, we have Q Myers, the host of Unnecessary Roughness on Raider Nation Radio.
There it is.
A very special guest is joining us, former NFL quarterback with the Redskins, the Raiders, Bengals, and Cardinals, and now the athletic director and football coach at Lake Mead Christian Academy. It's the great Jay Schrader. He's with us. And of course, he's back. Case Kiefer, assistant sports editor of the Las Vegas Sun. Great to have you all with us. Okay, now it's a given. Each and every year, the NFL draft, it brings us some booms and some busts, right? But on top of that, every year the draft has a story. And clearly, this year's story is quarterback. Everywhere you look, you see Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix Jr., even Bo Nix. Now, someone has to help us unpack all of these QB questions. That's why we have a 10-year NFL veteran, Jay Schrader, with us. But it's also good to note that this draft is also a very strong year for wideouts and offensive linemen as well. So knowing that, I'm going to start with you, Q. What should the Raiders be looking to do?
Why not?
13 overall.
Lay it out. You got the answers.
Right. Man, at 13, there's so many different options. I do believe that the Raiders can go. There's issues on the right side of the offensive line, and this is a class that has some really good offensive linemen, so a tackle there would not be a problem. That would be a good pick. You can look at the cornerback position. There's a couple cornerbacks that I'm looking at that I think could be really good. There's also a quarterback or two that'll be available for them. So they're in one of those positions where they can go in different directions. At 13, it's all going to be about what everything happens in front of them, right? I mean, they're going to have about 4 or 5 different game plans going into number 13.
And you have to adjust. Now, Case, are you of the belief system where quarterbacks, they're a premium, obviously. You know, maybe sometimes if you're reaching for that quarterback who doesn't, he shouldn't be drafted at 13, but you almost reach for him over other corners or linemen who should be going there. What's your belief system on that?
Yeah, I think NFL teams have a really good handle now on the positional value and just the advantage that if you hit on that rookie quarterback, what it means. I think we're seeing that effect with wideouts now, too. We're going to see all these wide receivers go early. It is a little bit of a slippery slope. If you're not fully bought in on one of these guys, and it looks like the top 3 guys will be gone by 13, do you want to go quarterback there? I agree with a lot of what Q said. I think those are the 3 positions they could go to. I've been getting a lot of heat for this, but I'm anti-offensive lineman. I think the Raiders are better on the offensive line than people think. I say address that in round 2 or 3. For me, go quarterback or cornerback.
Okay, now let's talk with you, Jay. We're going to be doing a deep. He's bringing the fire.
Put some respect on Thayer Munford's name.
I've been to this.
That's why we love Case. Always bringing the energy. We're going to be doing a deep dive on quarterbacks in this class with you, Jay, in a little bit. But let's first start here. At 13, what do you think the Raiders really should do at that pick?
You know, it's funny. I was talking to these guys backstage and everything else. They're going to have 4 different scenarios going in because in my mind, there's going to be at least 2 major trades in those first 8 to 10 picks, and that's going to determine where they are and what's available. I agree. I think they either got to go quarterback. It's hit or miss on quarterbacks, but if you like a guy there, you got to go quarterback or corner. I really do. I think there's enough offensive linemen that you can get later on, so I think that's the way they go. But it's all going to be determined in those first 8 to 10 picks because there are going to be some trades up there, and everybody's going to, shake their head at, and you're going to have some different scenarios working.
Do you think a new GM with Tom Telesco, obviously he's had a great career with the Chargers, but new situation, new head coach entering the mix, is it one of these things where you're timid to are you gun shy in trading up to do that thing? Do you want to?
You can't be. You're going to sit with us.
Listen, hey, look, these guys, you cannot be timid and shy because if you are, you're not having that job very long. You got to go get somebody that's going to help your football team right now. And
say what you want about the Raiders' past draft failures, but I'd say one thing you can't say is they've been gun shy. And I don't think Mark Davis went into this hire. I don't think he brought Tom Telesco on board.
Well, he's got experience. That's the biggest deal. He's got experience where you look at the other past GMs, no disrespect to any of them, but they were all new. So at least Tom Telesco knows exactly what Jay said. You've got to have 4 or 5 different plans going into your pick.
Okay, now at 13, obviously they're a little bit, behind in some of these other teams that are going to be looking to trade up. I mean, the draft capital it could take to get up to get a Jaden Daniels, it's going to take a lot for them to do that. How, from your guys' perspective, where we're at right now, a week out, do you think they're going to have the capital to actually get into the mix to go top 3, 4, or 5?
Q and I were discussing this back before we got up here. And I'm going to say no, because if I was Washington, Max Crosby's my guy, or else don't talk to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
Right?
Why not? I'm giving you a starter that you think's going to be your franchise guy. I want a franchise guy in return. I want Max.
And the Raiders end the call right there. So
That's probably
the only guy on the roster who's untouchable.
For sure, Max. There's no doubt about it. Max, I would even say that Devontae would be as well. For me, especially if you're trying to go get a quarterback you want your alpha dog wide receiver. So I would say he's untouchable as well. But look, if I'm the Raiders, I would try to sell on here. Take all my picks. Like, take all the picks that you want. 3 first rounds, right? And that's really not really 3 because you're doing a pick swap of the first round. So it's 2 more 1s, a couple 2s and a 3. That's fine. I'll gamble with that, but I ain't gambling with Max. 98's untouchable.
Let's talk about just how, real quickly before we end this block, how in love do you have to be with a guy to really go up and do it? I mean, you want that quarterback.
You got to be married. It's got to be marriage. You're not dating. It's marriage.
No. You have Aiden O'Connell, you have Gardner Minshew, so you really do need some excitement and some guy to fill that void. But how in love?
No, in love. It's not a 2 a.m. call. It's like you're with me all the time.
So
this is love.
If they're drafting it, if they're
drafting 2 a.m. call, man.
They're drafting a quarterback. He is married to AP, and AP's that's my guy.
Yep.
That's my guy.
Can you be in love with 2 people?
I don't think so. I think you named it. I think it's Jaden Daniels. I'm not reporting him, but just reading the tea leaves. I think that's who they love, and I think he's going to go to number 2 to the Commanders. So I think
that's what I'm asking. If Jaden Daniels is your one true long lost love, can you also, if Michael Penix is there at 13, can you still take him if you're not in love?
Yeah, I mean, that's a quarterback. You can get a quarterback because you need a quarterback. You're not. It's a different side. It's different, though. It's different. Jaden Daniels is love. Michael Penix is a good quarterback that you feel like is better than what you have, and you think he can help you take your team to the next level.
I know a lot of people in my world that they settle.
Yeah, well, you don't
That's all I'm going to say.
And that's a conversation. Are you settling for a quarterback at 13, or are you trying to get him a little bit later? That's another conversation.
Not everybody's married to Margot Robbie. That's all I'm going to say. There's only one dude that gets to do that. All right, guys, coming up after a short break. The draft doesn't end at 13 for the Raiders. They got picks at 44, 77, and 112 overall, plus 1 pick in the 5th and the 6th round and 2 more in the 7th. So what do they need to do with all that draft capital? My panel is going to break it down after these words. Case, you got Margot Robbie's number? You got it?
Yeah, just a second.
Okay.
You're watching Sin City Beat.
Welcome back to Sin City Beat. Well, it's a new era for the Silver and Black. Next week will be the first time the new regime puts their stamp on the team by way of the draft. Now, new GM Tom Telesco is by no means new. He comes from the Chargers, where he was the GM for the past 10 years. In those 10 drafts, he hit on some pretty big picks. Justin Herbert, Derwin James, Mike Williams, Joey Bosa, even Melvin Gordon. Those are just some of the first-rounders he nailed. In later rounds, he drafted guys like Keenan Allen, Drew Tranquill, and Hunter Henry. So as of right now, Telesco and Coach Pierce have 7 picks after pick 13 overall. Case, what do you think the Raiders need to address and accomplish after round 1 is settled?
Yeah, well, I think we touched on a few of them. I think this is an interesting year for the Raiders as compared to the other years where they're in Vegas, where there's so many directions they could have gone. I feel like they have some star power at some positions this year. I have a pretty good feeling the other positions they're going to address. We know they're going to get a quarterback, a cornerback, a lineman. Those are the big 3. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2 offensive linemen. They might need some depth at guard, too, and some depth in the skill positions. I think they'll add another running back. Wide receiver, they're great for the starters. Beyond that, they could add a depth wide receiver as well.
Philosophically, I'm curious where you guys stand on this. Are you a best player available or a need need kind of GM?
I'm a little bit of both. I'm a little bit of both.
First 3 rounds, you got to go need because
Okay.
you got to fill those holes.
Really?
Yeah. First 3 rounds, you got to fill holes.
Need over best available.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you've got to fill holes. And look, Kay said it. Look, they're going to get a wide receiver in this draft. They're going to get one because it's deep. There's guys that can play all over. And understand this, today's football, you got to throw it and catch it. It's built for that. You got to throw it and catch it. You can't have too many of those skill guys.
Okay, interesting.
I'm both, man. I'm both. I ride both sides of the fence. I think it's best player available in position of need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's how I look at it. And so, you look at 13, we already talked about so many different options, but then after that, as Case rolled out, wide receiver, that's something they need the depth. Running back, I think that's something you address in the 3rd or 4th round. Offensive line, tackle, guard, if they get those are great.
Yep.
Look, I know they're deep at the defensive tackle. I would even, if there's a great defensive tackle, I wouldn't have a problem with that either, just because you're continuing to build up that defense that is the strength of your team right now. Like, it's been a long time since I've said the strength of the Raiders team is their defense. So anytime that they address that, I'm okay with it. But yeah, I think it's best player available in position of need, and I think that's kind of how everyone.
Okay, now breaking down from what we've experienced with Tom Telesco, what he's done in the past, he's hit on some of those first round picks. Knowing his history, the type of player he likes, and potentially the mentality of coming into a new situation and wanting to hit that out of the park in the first round, where do you think he's going to lean just from a Tom Telesco standpoint?
The trenches.
Yeah. Well, I think he's going to, number one, he's going to look at trenches, but also if you look at his history, he wants a game changer. Look at the guys that he's drafted.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keenan Allen.
Yeah. The Keenan
Joey
Allen,
Bosa,
the Joey
James.
Bosa's. He wants somebody that can change the game the way they play. And,
Sean Slater. Offensive lineman.
So,
even though I'm against the offensive line, I would not be surprised at all if they went there first. And we already went on one of from the book of NFL coaches and general managers cliches, best player available, even though that's not usually true. I'll use another one. The Raiders are taking someone with a dog mentality. I know that sounds ridiculous. Everyone says that, but that's what AP wants. I feel like him and Telesco are together. It's going to be one of these guys. We're not going to have to be working hard to get some sound bites from whoever they pick, I feel like.
There's going to be somebody that flies around on the football field. Okay, everybody loves Max Crosby. We all do.
Yeah.
We want somebody to match that intensity, right? And that's the rare person to be able to do that.
Okay, so we got a minute left here. I like all this stuff. Tell us, how do you think these two heads of Telesco and Pierce are going to come together? There's always a storied, history and talk about, can the GM and the head coach, can they get along? Could they have the same focused vision? How do you think these two guys are going to come together and collaborate when it comes to the draft?
I think it's a yin and a yang, right? I mean, AP has all the energy, the excitement. Telesco's kind of calm, relaxed.
But whose call is it?
So I think it's going to be, at the end of the day, it's going to be Telesco's call. But AP's going to
sign off on it.
He'll have a heavy influence.
What Telesco's going to do, he's going to go, here's your two options. These are the two guys I'm thinking at this spot right here. Which one do you like and why? And if he can tell him that he needs that guy over the guy that Telesco wants, that'll be the pick.
There you go.
Boom.
All right, guys, Caleb, Jaden, Drake or JJ, what about even Penix Jr. or Nix? Who is going to be the best QB from this draft class? Jay Schrader has your answer next. All right, so this draft is like a quarterback wonderland. I mean, you got two Heisman winners. You got a 21-year-old that's a mixture of Herbert and Josh Allen. You got a national champ who has a record of 63-3 going all the way back to middle school, plus a lefty with a quick release and a huge arm who doesn't take sacks. Heck, you even have a 5-year player with 61 starts under his belt. So, GMs, you really can take your pick. So, Jay, as the only former NFL quarterback on this panel.
You didn't know about that one time?
Case had a hell of a Pop Warner career. But we want to know from you. Tell us, if your job was on the line as a GM, you're at the #1 overall pick, who are you betting your money on? Who's the best quarterback out of this draft class?
I'm taking Daniels, #1.
Jaden Daniels.
I think I'm taking Jaden Daniels,
Why?
#1. I think he has the potential to be very good for a very long time. I really do. I think he's the complete package. I think if you watch him move, the way his mind works and everything else, I think you can build a phenomenal football team around Jalen Daniels.
Let's talk about some of the things he's done. 6'4", last year, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions only, 3,800 passing yards. He's the only FBS player in history to have 12,000 yards passing and 3,000 yards rushing. So, he's looking 2 or 3 to either the Commanders or the Patriots. Why do you think people are so headstrong on Caleb Williams then?
Well, look, 2 years ago, Caleb Williams was on fire, okay? There's no question about it. He's very good talent, okay? And he's going to be a good quarterback. But you ask me, who am I hanging my hat on? I'm doing it on Daniels. I think Caleb Williams is streaky. I think he comes out of that system that leads to that. Q, you hit it. Look, he said he's like a Baker Mayfield, okay, where you can ride him for 4 or 5 games, then you're like, oh, wait a minute, and all that. So overall, I like Daniels more than I like Williams.
Talk about the system and that Baker Mayfield comparison.
Well, it just comes from the Lincoln Riley system, right? And Baker did really well under Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma. Kyler Murray did really well under Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma. Jalen Hurts did really well in Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley. And so now Caleb Williams was in Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley and transfers to USC. He wins the Heisman. So he's going to be, like Jay said, a really good quarterback. But there's questions. Is that going to translate? Is what he did at Oklahoma and USC, is that going to translate to the NFL? Jaden Daniels, I think he's still getting better, which is scary.
You're not afraid. I mean, you're a big dude. He's 6'4", Jaden Daniels. He's a little slim. Even though he's a 210 when he came in the pro day, you're not worried about him getting roughed up when he's rushing around?
I'm a big dude now, but I was 215 back then. So,
but you got some broadness to you.
I'm not, because the rules have changed. They don't get hit like we used to. Okay. The rules have changed. The size, as far as that girth, really doesn't bother me anymore. Okay. Because the rules have changed and the quarterbacks can be around.
Casey's like the dog. Casey's ready to bark.
We're scheduled to revisit this conversation in 5 years. I can't believe I can be the voice of reason here.
Oh, wow.
You talk about the complete package. To me, it's Caleb Williams. I like Jaden Daniels, too.
He's your Margot Robbie, right?
I don't want to. Yeah, he's my Margot Robbie, I guess you could say. I don't want to come off as a Jaden Daniels hater. I think he has a really high ceiling, could be great. But there's some red flags we see with guys that really fit with Jaden Daniels. You rattled off his numbers this year. Unbelievable this year. He was good in other years, but a lot of times these one-year wonders don't translate to the NFL. And look at what he had around him. He had an NFL offensive line. He had Malik Neighbors, who could be a day one Pro Bowler. Caleb Williams, you go back even to when he took over as a freshman at Oklahoma. He started 4 games. We were talking about him in the Heisman Trophy race. I think we've seen him do it for longer. I think he has more of the complete package. Caleb's my number 1. I think I have no problem with saying Jaden Daniels the clear number 2, but to me, there's a gap between Caleb and everyone else.
After Jaden and after Caleb, we got that. But now there's a lot of talk about Drake May, J.J. McCarthy. I'm curious to get your take on this, Jay. People are like, J.J. McCarthy just comes off this huge national championship win, wasn't asked to do a lot, but executed with a great supporting system. But that's also not his fault that he's being asked to do what he's told. To me, I think we see a lot of quarterbacks trying to push and do too much. To me, I don't think it's always bad to have a good point guard at quarterback. What do you think about a guy like J.J. McCarthy?
J.J. McCarthy is going to be very good if he's in the right system. Okay, he's a system guy. Okay, all that. There's 3 guys that you can go with now. You got J.J. McCarthy. Okay, you got the kid at Bo Nix.
From Oregon. Another system guy.
But you look at Nix, he's been in 2 systems and very good at both
Auburn
of them.
And Oregon,
so there's guys that are going to be there. Penix, I think his upside is really good. My concern is he's already been hurt a couple of times. He's got, and it's not just injuries, it's knee. And that puts him out for a while.
Okay. And we'll see if the Raiders can escape their history. I feel like what have we seen the Raiders do time and time again? The upside guy, to me, Penix is the upside guy. He could be unbelievable.
There's no question.
Two last questions. So Drake May, just wanted your thoughts on him.
Drake May, I'm not sold on just because he hasn't played a lot of football. And look, I'm a quarterback guy. I watched him. I don't like his decision-making process.
Interesting.
I think he's not quick enough in that process for me.
There you go. One last question. Who is the Jamarcus Russell of this crop?
Oh, man, I'm not putting that on anybody.
No. Is anybody going to be that?
No. There's nobody in this crop that's going to do that.
No Jamarcus Russell, but just so you get an answer of one guy I'm lowest on compared to where they're going to go, I'm having a hard time totally buying into the J.J. McCarthy hype. I think if you could get Nix or Penix later in the first round, I could see it. If you're going 4 for J.J. McCarthy, that's a big swing to me that I wouldn't take.
That's rich. I wouldn't do that.
I think McCarthy and May are are kind of out there. You know,
So
that is
there's
the
clear
true.
two.
Yeah, there's clear two. McCarthy and May, I think you're stretching if you're thinking they're going to come in and be the guy right away.
You heard it there from Jay Schrader. Okay, guys, next up, we're going on the record. Okay, the panel's going to look into the future and they're going to answer what will the Raiders do at pick number 13. After the break, predictions from the panel. All right, so welcome back, everybody. Before I let these guys go, we need to get some predictions. I want to know not what you think the Raiders should do, but what you think the Raiders are ultimately going to do in the first round. Before I go to the UQ, I just got to say, the guy next to me right here, I mean, third round, selected 83rd overall in the 1984 draft. You're also third overall pick in the MLB draft in 1979 by the Blue Jays. So a lot of great draft day memories for this guy right here. But let's start with you.
Thanks. You give him all his accolades, and you're like, all right, Q, you're up.
That's twice you've done it, baby.
I did it. Q, we love you. You're the man.
But
Tell us, who are they going to take?
man, this is a good one. I'm going with what they're doing, right? Not with what I think.
Yes.
Okay.
This is your prediction.
My prediction. Okay.
If the historians come back and watch Sin City Beat, who are they taking?
They're taking Fuaga. They're taking the offensive tackle out of Oregon State. They're going to attack the trenches immediately because that's what Tom Telesco does. So at 13, I got Fuaga out of Oregon State. He'll be there to protect maybe the blind side of Michael Penix if they can get him a little bit later.
All right, perfect. 60 seconds.
I'm going to stick with Penix later, and they're going to go Terrion Arnold at 13, the cornerback. Maybe trade back up and get Penix in the first round, too.
Okay, and Jay, last?
Going Fuaga. You're going to go there.
Let's go!
There's going to be a couple of trades. Before that, they'll take the offensive tackle because they'll be able to get a quarterback a little bit later in the round.
Right.
I think they'll get one late.
All the predictions are there. I love this. I love what all you guys said. Do you want to give us just a quick draft day memory? Where were you when you were drafted 83rd overall? Real quick, we got like 30 seconds.
So when I came out, it was the first year ESPN ran the draft. I came out of baseball. The Raiders had the pick before Washington. Washington drafted. Chris Berman pronounced my name wrong. They said with the 83rd pick, they drafted Jay Schroeder and went to a commercial, came back and talked about the Raiders. They had nothing on me. It was awesome.
Okay, well, we're not going to do you wrong there. It's the one, the only Jay Schrader. We love you so much. Thanks for spending some time with us. We also love you. Q Myers, Case Kiefer. Guys, thanks so much for staying with us. We will see what happens next week on the draft. I think the historians are going to look back kindly on these selections.